The Cayo Perico heist is already the most lucrative money-making method in all of GTA Online, but you can make it a whole lot better just by following some very easy tips. The entire heist shouldn't take you more than an hour if you do it properly, and you should always be able to complete the Elite Challenge in the finale for an easy $50,000 bonus, or $100,000 if you're doing the heist in hard mode. The first tip I'm going to give you is that you should do the Cayo Perico heist at least once before proceeding further with the tips I'm about to provide. If this is your first time going through it and you've saved up $2.2 million for the Casaca submarine, go meet up with Madrazo in the music locker beneath the Diamond Casino, and he'll ask you to receive the Madrazo files for him. This is the first and only time you'll be able to get the Madrazo files as primary loot. Afterwards, you'll get a random chance of spawning the Cincimito Tequila, Bearer Bonds, Ruby Necklace, or Pink Diamond. Once you've done your first Cayo Perico, you'll also be eligible to redo the heist in hard mode after the cooldown expires. The cooldown takes 3 in-game days, so 2 hours and 24 minutes in real life, and once this cooldown expires, you have 48 minutes to deposit the 100k setup fee. If you've deposited the fee, you don't need to play the heist immediately. You can do other stuff and come back later, because now the hard mode is locked in and you'll get an extra 10% on the primary targets, plus $100,000 instead of $50,000 for completing the Elite Challenge. As for the Elite Challenge itself, there are 3 conditions that you must fulfill in order to get your bonus cash. First, you'll have to complete the Cayo Perico finale in less than 15 minutes. Secondly, you must have a full loot bag at the end before you exfiltrate from the island. And the third and final condition is that you must not fail a single hack. It's also worth noting that in hard mode you get 4 hacks instead of 3 in hard mode, and you'll have 0 extra lives. However, this is worth doing because you earn more money from the Elite Challenge and primary loot, so you'll have an extra $100,000 to $200,000 in your bank account by the very end. Another thing you should own before you start grinding Cayo Perico is the Sparrow helicopter, which can be acquired as a moonpool upgrade for your Casaca submarine from the Warstock Cash and Carry website. This helicopter costs $1.8 million, so it's a pretty significant investment, but trust me, the vehicle you get is well worth it for grinding the prep missions. Not only is the Sparrow one of the fastest helicopters in the entire game in terms of top speed, but it also comes with an endless supply of homing missiles if you choose to equip it with the mounted missiles package for $240,000. So now, once you've done the initial heist and purchased your Sparrow, you're ready to grind Cayo Perico to its fullest extent and get the most out of this amazing heist. But first, set the Casaca as your spawn point through the interaction menu and load into a brand new invite-only lobby. This will ensure that you never have to travel back and forth between land and sea, and you'll save a lot of time by enabling this option. For the recon mission, when you go to the island and scout it out for potential targets, make sure that you're using the Casaca's fast travel to get around the map faster. For example, if the game asks you to travel to Lago Zancudo for the smuggler's plane, don't just drive there. Instead, use the captain's seat and deliver your Casaca to the nearest possible spot, which, in the case of Lago Zancudo, will be Chumash. It only costs $2,000, and you won't have to do it more than 2 or 3 times per heist, so the only other time you need to use this feature is during the equipment prep, and bringing your Casaca to Vespucci Beach or the North Palomino Highlands will cover every single location you need to visit during the equipment and weapons prep. And while we're on the topic of the intel prep mission, it's obvious that you'll use your Sparrow to get there faster, but don't get too greedy and damage the Vellum with your homing missiles. Sure, you can clear out the smugglers guarding the plane, but there's always one guy standing right next to the plane, and if you hit him with a barrage of homing missiles, it might damage the Vellum and cause the engine to die mid-flight, preventing you from getting to Cayo Perico. If this happens, you'll have to restart the intel gathering mission, and it's going to waste a lot of time, so you can either land your Sparrow and take these guys out on foot, or use your homing missiles sparingly, only shooting one at a time and being extra careful not to hit the Vellum. Once you get inside the Vellum, make sure to retract the landing gear after takeoff. This will reduce drag and also help you climb faster without stalling the plane. There will always be a few mountains between you and your destination, so it's important to gain as much altitude as possible in a short amount of time so that you don't waste any time flying around these mountains. Oh, also, don't bother with the pilot's door. A lot of the time, it's just going to be sticking out in the air, and there's no easy way to shut it, so unless it's triggering your OCD or something, just let it be. It's okay. Now, once you arrive at Cayo Perico, you should immediately hop on the dirt bike and start driving towards the communications tower in the middle of the map. Never drive on the roads, otherwise you're going to be spotted by a sentry. Instead, take the hills on the right side of the road while being mindful of the trees and bushes. You don't want to go too fast or you'll run into one of these bushes and get knocked off your bike, but once you arrive at the outpost area with the gate and tower, just wait for the sentry on top of the tower to look in a different direction, and you can drive your bike straight through the gate on the right side. From here, getting to the communications tower is really easy and it shouldn't take you more than 1 minute. Once you arrive at the tower, check the surroundings to see if there's a guard standing nearby the cabin at the front of the tower. If there isn't one, the signal box will likely be at the bottom of the tower, but in any case, it's super easy to find the signal box because you can always hear the electrical noise coming out of it whenever it's nearby. Once you have access to the signal box though, you'll need to solve a simple puzzle. On the left, you have 3 numbers, and on the right, you have 3 corresponding multipliers. These are typically 1 times, 2 times, and 10 times. Then at the top, you have a target voltage that you must reach by combining the base numbers with the multipliers. So for example, if the numbers are 5, 2, and 5, and the multipliers are 1, 2, and 10 times, with a target voltage of 59, you'll need to connect 5 times 10, 2 times 2, and 5 times 1 for a total of 50 plus 4 plus 5 equals 59. See, it's pretty simple, and assuming you're familiar with basic multiplication and addition, you should have no trouble of figuring this out within a few seconds. With the signal box now hacked, Pavel will instruct you to pull out your phone and use the remote viewing app to browse through security cameras in El Rubio's compound. Since you've already done this heist once before, you don't need to bother with entry and exit points, secondary targets, or any of that stuff really. Assuming you're solo, the only 2 places that you need to scan are going to be the basement storage area as well as El Rubio's personal office. In the basement, you'll find your primary loot, and it's either going to be in the glass case or the safe, and if it's in the glass case, you'll need the plasma cutter, and if it's in the safe, you'll need a safe key. If you have an additional team member with you, you can also check other vaults in the basement as well as the courtyard for some secondary loot. Remember, gold is going to be the most valuable here, followed by some Coca-Cola, paintings, grass, and then cash, in that order. Now, once you've scouted all your loot, you can simply walk up into the vision cone of the guy on the guard tower and get booted back to the airstrip for an easy exit. But wait, there is a much faster way. Simply open the pause menu and load into a new lobby with the cassette as your spawn point, and voila, you've exited the island and regrouped with Pavel at the same time. It only takes 5 or 10 seconds, and it's much faster than watching that cutscene and landing back at LSIA. Now, once you're back in your casaca, you're presumably headed to the planning screen so you can do all 4 mandatory prep missions for the equipment, namely demolition charges, the plasma cutter, fingerprint cloner, and the cutting torch. But did you know that you can get away by doing just the last 3 and skipping the demo charges entirely? Yes, I know it says mandatory, but once you do the cutting torch mission, you'll see that the mandatory label on the demo charges changes to optional because you've already secured yourself an entry point through the drainage gate. Besides, when was the last time you actually used demolition charges in Cayo Perico? Everyone knows that the drainage tunnel is going to be the easiest and fastest way to get inside El Rubio's compound, so skip the battle with the inbred rednecks guarding the demolition charges and save yourself 5 to 7 minutes of time. And while you're doing the cutting torch mission at the construction site, don't forget to grab a yellow hard hat. It should be on one of the tables right next to the entrance. If you wear one of these, you can walk right through an enemy's cone of vision without alerting them. In fact, they won't detect you unless you bump into them, which makes this mission so much easier in my opinion. Also, when you're doing the plasma cutter mission, you'll notice that there's 2 stages. First, you arrive at an empty safe house that's supposed to have the plasma cutter, but everyone's missing, so Pavel asks you to take a picture of the planning board. Then he gives you the new coordinates for the criminal gang from whom you're supposed to steal the plasma cutter from, but you don't have to actually walk around the room and look for the planning board while also listening to Pavel ramble away on the phone. Instead, you can just walk into the safe house, take a couple of steps forward, pull out your phone and snap a photo, send it to Pavel, and walk right back out. No need to see the actual whiteboard, and this is also going to save you a few seconds of time. There isn't really much to say about the fingerprint cloner other than the fact that you can avoid a fight by simply shooting out the cameras before you enter the first safe house, but the fight itself is very easy, so you can also barge in like Rambo if you want. That's what most players usually do. And in the second warehouse, you'll almost always find the fingerprint cloner on the last table or the table right next to the last one. Now let's talk about approach vehicles next, because there are only 2 real options here, the casaca and the longfin. If you go with the casaca approach, you'll need to acquire a sonar jammer to keep your submarine hidden from El Rubio's defenses, and this is actually a lot easier than people make it out to be. Just teleport your casaca right next to the Merryweather submarine, drive there manually, dive in and set the casaca to autopilot right above the enemy sub so it stays submerged, and then grab a scuba suit and use the moon pool to exit your submarine. Then enter the Merryweather submarine. There should be a total of 3 enemies that you need to take out before you reach the jammer. An assault shotgun will come in handy during this stage, but you can honestly just do it with a handgun if you memorize the 3 locations of the guards. Once you have the jammer, go back the way you came in and swim into your own submarine. And that's it. Mission's gonna be complete right there. The longfin approach is more preferable though, as it allows you to drive around the island much more easily, but securing the vehicle can be harder than the Merryweather submarine mission because you first have to acquire a semi-truck and then you have to fight off the LSPD on your way to the harbor. To make things a little bit easier here, I recommend you purchase a Phantom Wedge from Warstock. It does cost $1.9 million, but it's one of the most fun vehicles to drive around in the entire game, and you can summon it from the service vehicle menu right next to the police parking lot. This way, you won't have to drive halfway around the map and back just to find a truck, and before you enter the parking lot, get out of your truck, shoot every cop on sight, and blow yourself up with a grenade or sticky bomb. This will clear out the entire parking lot and also instantly reset your wanted level so you can drive the longfin to the docks in peace without being bothered by a few dozen angry cops on the way. By the way, this is the exact spot for your destination, so set a waypoint right here on the map and you won't have to listen to Pavel yap away on the phone before he gives you the coordinates that you need to take the truck to. Finally, we've got the weapons prep, and for this you want the office building mission. If you get the Merryweather HQ mission, just use the cruise missiles on your Kasatka to blow up the chopper, or take the much simpler route of reloading into a new invite-only lobby. It's just 5 seconds and you'll reset the mission type when you reload the lobby. Keep doing this until you get the Penrith building or some other location just other than the Merryweather HQ. Then take your Sparrow and land on top of that building. Never go in through the front door because you'll alert the guards and get into a massive fight. Instead, fly over to the roof and enter from there. And once you're inside, you can use a silenced weapon to take out the guard near the door and 3 more who are standing near the office safe. With these guys out of the way, you can hack the laptop and collect your weapons. From here, make sure that you take the roof exit and not the ground floor exit, because the roof is where your Sparrow is parked. Once on the roof, you'll notice that there are 2 Merryweather helicopters right on top of you. Do not blow these up with a homing missile launcher or RPG. Instead, just take out the gunner in each of the helicopters. If you do kill the pilot or destroy the helicopters, they'll simply just respawn and they'll keep shooting at you during your entire flight back to your Kasatka. But say if you just kill the gunners, for example, the Merryweather helicopters will just hover harmlessly around you while you enter your Sparrow and fly back home. Now it's time for the final planning stage. All the prep work is done and you're ready to start Cayo Perico's finale mission. But wait, aren't you forgetting your suppressors? Actually, you don't need to select them at all. Neither do you need to buy them for $5,000 because the game will automatically equip suppressors for you. I prefer the aggressor loadout with a machine pistol and an assault shotgun, but you can honestly go with any loadout you prefer. Time of the day doesn't really matter, but I go in during daytime just for that added visibility. And once you're on the island, depending on whether or not you found 2 paintings in the office, you can head over to the airstrip for your secondary loot. If you take the long fin approach, always go for the secondary loot first, then head over to the drainage tunnel for your primary. But if you're using the Kasatka approach, select the drainage tunnel as your entry point and grab the primary target first. Then exit the compound and grab a bike so you can drive over to the main docks. There will be a few guards along the way, but you can shoot them down with your suppressed pistol and not raise any alarms. Don't worry about that. From the main dock though, once your loot bag is full, you can jump into one of the boats and head away from the island to complete the mission. Personally, I prefer the long fin approach because it's much more streamlined and it also involves less shooting, but you can switch it up every once in a while to keep things entertaining for yourself. That's what I recommend. And once you're inside of El Rubio's compound, head up the stairs, past the Juggernaut in the courtyard, and knock out 3 guards on your way to the office floor. One of these 3 should have the gate key, and if you find the gate key, you won't have to go through all 3 hacks. Instead, you can take a detour to the basement level by jumping the wall next to the main building and open the basement gate to find yourself inside the cellar. Here, you'll only have to do 1 hack before you get to the primary target. But even if you choose to do all 3 hacks in the office, don't worry because there's also a simple trick I recommend here. You don't have to manually match every last pixel. Instead, you can get the correct sequence every single time simply by lining up the topmost image, which is going to be our quote-unquote base image or position 1, and scrolling to the right for every row below that one. So to break this down, for the row right below the topmost image, it's 1 scroll to the right. For the 3rd row, you move it to the right twice from the starting image. For the 4th row, you move it 3 times to the right, so on and so on. Always start with the first position, which is going to be the topmost image in each row, and scroll right based on the row number -1. For the 5th row, it's 4 positions to the right. For the 4th row, it's 3 positions to the right. You get the idea here. While you're in Rubio's office, don't forget his office safe, which is opposite the side of the room from the fingerprint scanner. It rewards you with anywhere from $35,000 to $45,000 on average, and it can even give you over $90,000 in some rare cases. Plus, there's a desk in the room, and if you open up the drawer, you'll find a golden gun inside, which is clearly inspired by Scaramouche's pistol from the James Bond movie, The Man with the Golden Gun. But in order to open up that drawer, you must first have a key for it, and this key spawns through random events in free mode. There are 8 known spawn locations on the map, and they'll be marked with a blue dot when the event is active. Once you have this key, you can unlock that drawer and collect the golden gun for yourself. So with all the loot collected, it's time to make your exit, and for this, simply knock out the guard next to the bike as you walk out of El Rubio's compound and turn around, driving right next to the chopper. There's another guard there. You can choose to kill him if you want, but it honestly doesn't matter because by the time the bodies are detected, you'll be long gone. Just dive off the cliff into the ocean, and from there, you should see 3 sea mines placed in a triangle formation. Keep swimming in that direction, and soon the text at the bottom of your screen is going to disappear, and that's going to indicate that you've successfully escaped from Cayo Perico with all your loot. So with that being said, those are my top 26 tips for success in Cayo Perico. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Are there any other hidden tips that you'd like to add to this list? Also, I'm curious from you, what's the most amount of money someone has made from Cayo Perico? I played my fair share, and at this point, I only drop in occasionally, but if you're new, now is definitely a good time as any to get started with Cayo Perico. It's certainly one of the most efficient money-making methods in the entire game, despite all of the nerfs. And honestly, the only downside here is unless you play other types of content, you probably will find yourself getting burnt out by this repetitive nature of the heist, but that being said, enjoy it while it's new for you. Anyways, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you want more GTA Online content like this. Don't forget to drop a like on this video if you guys enjoyed and found it helpful. Check me out over on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at HazardousHDTV. I live stream GTA Online several times a week over on that channel, and I would love to have you guys get involved with the community over on there. Anyways, hopefully you all have a fantastic day. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next GTA 5 online video. Adios, amigos.